Hello everybody, welcome to Filmmaking. Today, Bojan Dulabic here. So, what's the advantage of shooting in 4K versus 1080? Let's find out. Alright folks, so in this video I'm going to talk about the advantages of shooting in 4K. Now this is not about exporting in 4K, this is actually about shooting in 4K and then exporting the video in 1080p. So there are definitely advantages in doing it that way. I talked a while ago about I still don't think that there is a need to export your video in 4K, generally speaking, and I still think that's the case. But shooting in 4K, I do think it makes sense to shoot in 4K and then export in 1080. So let's talk about a few things. Let's talk about this clip right here. So this right here is basically just a static shot that I took a while ago. There's not really too much happening here. I was hand holding it, so that's why it's a bit wobbly. So what I want to do, I want to take a few seconds of this shot. So let's, I don't know, let's go somewhere around here, something like that. Let's take that and let's take just a video and drag it in here and create a new sequence. So this sequence here, if we take a look at the sequence settings, this is a 4K sequence. Here's the resolution. First, let's change that to a 1080p sequence. So that would be 1920 by 1080. So let's change that and just hit OK. So when we do that, this obviously gets zoomed in a lot because this is now a 1080p sequence. And that's where the magic happens. So if we go over here, this is now zoomed in by 100%. Now, as you can see, you can still use this footage when it's zoomed in by 100%. So if we zoom out by 50%, this is now that full footage, the full, full frame, whatever. It's all in frame, I mean. That's where the magic happens, because when you shoot in 4K, it actually gives you the ability to zoom in by 50% without losing quality. So, for example, let's say we want to use this one clip, and let's say for this, well, actually, why don't we do this? Why don't we extend this a bit? Let's say by about here, and let's chop this up into, let's say, 3 different clips. So the first one, let's say we want, how about somewhere around here? So let's zoom in by 100%. Boom. Actually, you know what? That works fine. Okay. Let's say we want that. All right. And then we go to the next clip. Actually, let's click over here and first let's zoom in. There you go. And now let's say, what do we want? What's something interesting here? How about down here? There you go. How about we want to see this here? All right. And let's say we want that. Let's lower the quality here. Okay. Say we want that. And then for the last one, I want to keep this zoomed out, but what I don't like is this this right here. Normally, you could paint it out, but honestly, why don't we just zoom in by, it doesn't even have to be that much. So if we go 50.5, and let's see, and then can we, actually that's probably not enough. What about 51.5? There you go. So that's almost gone, but because we zoomed in, we've got a lot of, there you go, look at that. Well, that fit perfectly. So look at that. It's gone. And we're still, we're still here. So we still see everything. I mean, so let's see what we got here. So we've got a little bit of here. Boom. We cut to this. And boom, we cut to the wide shot. This is a great way of taking a simple clip that you shot and reusing it in a very interesting way. So you could even take a boring, let's say 10-second clip, and depending on where you zoom in, zoom out, you can make it very interesting. And maybe there's some stuff happening here you want to show, and then there's some stuff happening here. You can reuse that same sequence and just cut in and out. That's the magic of 4K. When you're shooting 4K and exporting 1080. So let's do another thing that I find very interesting. So here's another clip. So this one right here, I've got it queued up here. So again, this is a static shot. I'm hand holding it again. Not much happening here, right? So boom. Why don't we make that a bit more interesting? So let's take this one here, and so it's already zoomed in by 50%. And why don't we, let's see, let's say we start here. All right. Now what I want to do, I actually want to pan, pan over. So let's do that. So this is framed up. Let's say I want start here. So I hit the keyframe and I go to the end. And let's say I want to go over here. Let's say I don't want to go too far because it's not that long. I want it to be slow. So let's see. Yeah, that's way too fast. Why don't I extend this a little bit, and let's move this keyframe over here. So look at that. Now that looks pretty good. I mean, you can play around with it, but I think you're getting the idea. We're getting all this from from one clip, right? You can do so much with it. Now, let me show you one last thing, which I think will convince you of how powerful this is. All right, so here's a shot I did of a lens. So this is a shot where I've got my camera on my motorized slider, and it's actually moving around the lens, right? So this by itself is a pretty cool shot, right? But I think we can do more with it. So let's take this little clip. Let's move it down here. Now, if I go back to the beginning, I'm going to turn on this guy here because I want to see where the center of the frame is. So how about we, again, we're zoomed in by 50%, or we're zoomed in 100%, however you want to look at it. So let's center this lens here. So that's about it. And let's move up and get this in frame. And yeah, that's good. So we're at the beginning of the clip. Let's set a keyframe. Now let's move to the end. And let's do the same thing. Let's center this as best as we can. Yeah, that's fine. But now what I want to do, I want to move down. So let's move all the way down here. And almost there. How far can we go? So, okay, this is, all right, this is as much as we can go. Now, check this out. Now, that's a lot more interesting, isn't it? This is the kind of stuff you can do. Now, in this case, this I've noticed the shot is a bit wobbly. Sometimes that happens when you do the keyframe thing that I did. You could stabilize that. So what we could do, we could apply a stabilizer effect to it. Now, in order to do that, if you do it just now, so let me show you what I mean. So if you use this warp stabilizer, if you just drop this on this guy, you're going to get this error message because this clip right here doesn't match the sequence. So let's redo that one. And what you have to do is you just have to nest this guy. So nested, boom. Now it actually becomes a clip that matches the sequence here. And now just do the same thing. Drop this guy on here. It's going to analyze it. And depending on your computer, this could take, I don't know, could take 20 seconds, could take 20 minutes, depending on your computer. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to fast forward this guy. All right, so we're back and this guy is almost done here. So boom, there we go. Now let's take a look at what this looks like. And okay, much better. Now I do notice it's a bit wobbly here, so you can fix that very easily if you change the method here from subspace warp to just position scale rotation, and then maybe we'll change this to 20. That should make it a bit better, and let's see what happens here. There you go, much better. Now this is playing at a quarter of quality, so keep that in mind. But look at that. I mean, we got from basically this shot here, this is that same shot, from this shot, which is a nice shot by itself. This is the beauty. You can use this shot here and then you can cut to this guy right here. Now look at that. And I actually used this in one of my videos about this lens. If you take a look on my channel, my video about the Sigma 75 to 300 mil lens, this is exactly what I did. So that's pretty sweet. If you look at these three examples, we go from here where you can just basically cut in and out in the same same clip, to basically doing a digital pan, and then to doing basically a digital, you know, pan and keyframe and, you know, all kinds of goodness. So that's it, guys. I hope you found this video useful. As you can see, there are quite a lot of advantages in shooting in 4K and then exporting it in 1080. One big advantage that I can think of is for videographers who are doing, let's say, weddings. So, for example, let's say you have multiple cameras set up, right? Maybe there's two shooters, each one has a camera, and then you have maybe one camera set up to sort of capture, you know, the whole thing, maybe a wide shot, right? Well, what you can do, depending on where you position the camera, let's say the camera is positioned at the front, right? You can frame it so you see just the people. For example, if it's a wedding, some weddings, you know, have different ceremonies, different things going on. So maybe you frame it so that you capture everything, and then you use that camera. Could be a backup camera, or could be a sort of, you know, plan B in case, oh, I just need something interesting. I can cut to that. And if people are moving within that, you can always track it, you know, keyframe it, as long as you don't zoom in more than 50%. You're not going to lose any quality, right? So there are a lot of advantages in shooting in 4K and then exporting it in 1080. So, you know, that's that, guys. Like everything else, don't overdo it. You know, don't go more than 50% when it comes to zooming in. I guess you could go 60, you know, an additional 10%, and you know, you're probably going to be okay. But like everything else, don't overdo it and use this sparingly, and, you know, you'll be fine. So that's it, guys. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, tell your friends, all that good stuff. Hit that bell icon to be notified of future videos, and stay tuned for more. Thanks.